Jake Morrison sat in the tall chair and looked around the big meeting room. The walls were made of white stone that seemed to glow from inside. Above them, the ceiling was so high he could not see the top. Around the huge round table sat beings from across the galaxy. Some looked like giant bugs. Others looked like floating jellyfish in tanks of water. Some were made of light itself. Morrison had been coming to these meetings for 5 years. He had always tried to be fair. He had always tried to find peace. Today was different. Today they wanted to destroy everything his people had built. The Vrex ambassador moved its bug-like head and clicked its teeth together. When it spoke, a machine changed the sounds into words Morrison could understand. "The humans have become too dangerous," the Vrex said. Its black eyes looked at Morrison like he was something dirty. "Your people build too many ships. You make too many colonies. You take up too much space." Morrison kept his face calm, but inside he was angry. The Vrex had 300 worlds. The humans had only 50. The Vrex had been in space for 1,000 years. Humans had only been here for 20. Kate Barnes sat next to Morrison. She was young and smart. She had all the numbers in her head. She leaned close to him and whispered, 300 colonies, sir. 47 million people. They want us to give up everything and go back to Earth." Morrison nodded. He had known this was coming. For months, the other races had been meeting without humans. They had been making plans. They had been deciding what to do about the problem of humanity. The ethereal spoke next. It was made of pure energy trapped inside a crystal shell. When it talked, colors moved through its body like lightning. "Your species is too young," the ethereal said. "You do not know how to live in peace. You fight too much. You ask too many questions. You do not follow the old ways." Morrison almost laughed. The old ways. The ways that kept some races in power while others stayed weak. The ways that said humans should be happy with the scraps they were given. The aquarian in its water tank made sounds like singing. The machine turned the sounds into words that dripped with dislike. "We have voted," the aquarian said. 15 races against 1. You will leave the outer colonies. You will destroy your new ships. You will accept limits on how many children you can have. This is final." Morrison stood up slowly. His uniform was blue and gold with marks that showed he had fought in wars. He had scars on his hands from battles against pirates and raiders. He had given years of his life to protect not just humans, but all the races that now wanted to cage his people. "Let me make sure I understand," Morrison said. His voice was quiet, but everyone could hear him. "You want us to abandon our homes. You want us to destroy our ships. You want us to stop having children. All because you think we might become dangerous someday." The Vrex clicked its teeth again. "You are already dangerous. Your people do not think like us. You do not accept your place. This makes you unpredictable." Morrison looked around the room. These beings had been alive when his grandfather's grandfather was born. They had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They thought they knew everything. "What if we say no?" Morrison asked. The ethereal pulsed with angry colors. "Then we will make you say yes. Our fleets are bigger than yours. Our technology is older. You cannot fight all of us." Morrison pulled out a small device and pressed a button. Far away, on. Ships hiding in dark space. His signal was received. Admiral Lisa Carter was waiting for this moment. So were 100 other human commanders. "You are right," Morrison said. "We cannot fight all of you. Not the way you fight. Not by your rules. Not in the kind of war you understand." He walked toward the door. Kate Barnes followed him. Behind them, the alien voices rose in anger and confusion. "Where are you going, human?" the Vrex demanded. "We are not finished with you." Morrison turned around one last time. His face was calm, but his eyes were cold as space. "Yes, you are finished with us," he said, "and we are finished with you. We tried to be your friends. We tried to be your partners. We followed your rules and respected your customs. We helped you fight the Hive invasion. We shared our medical knowledge when the plague hit the Centauri worlds. We saved your children when the Star Pirates took them. He paused and looked at each alien face around the table. And this is how you repay us. With threats and ultimatums, with demands that we crawl back to our little corner and stay quiet like good pets. The Aquarian's colors turned dark red. You will obey the will of the Council, or you will face the consequences. Morrison smiled. It was not a nice smile. No, he said. You will face the consequences. All of you. You had a choice. Today, you could have worked with us. You could have treated us as equals. You could have remembered that we have been good neighbors and faithful allies. He touched his communication device again. Carter, execute Protocol 7. All ships, all stations, all colonies. We are withdrawing from all treaties as of this moment. Cut all communication with Council worlds. Begin the blackout protocol. The room erupted in shouts and angry sounds. The Vrex stood up so fast its chair fell over. The ethereal flashed with colors that hurt to look at. The Aquarian thrashed in its tank. You cannot leave the Council, the Vrex shouted. No race has ever left the Council. Today is a day for new things, Morrison said. Your mistake was thinking we needed you more than you needed us. Your mistake was thinking we would accept being treated like children forever. Your mistake was forgetting that humans do not break easily. Kate Barnes had been recording everything. Now she sent the recording to every human world, every human ship, every human listening post in the galaxy. Let me tell you what happens. Now, Morrison said, you will not see our ships in your space anymore. You will not receive our trade goods or our medical supplies. You will not get help from our rescue teams or our peacekeepers. You will not benefit from our research or our discoveries. He walked closer to the table. And when the next crisis comes, when the next enemy appears, when the next disaster strikes, remember this moment. Remember that you chose to make enemies of the people who would have died to protect you. The human delegation walked out of the chamber. Behind them, the greatest powers in the galaxy sat in shocked silence. They had expected the humans to beg. They had expected them to negotiate. They had expected them to accept their place in the galactic order. They had not expected this cold, final rejection. As Morrison and Barnes reached their ship, Kate looked back at the glowing towers of Centauri Prime. Sir, what if they come after us? What if they try to force us to come back? Morrison climbed into the pilot's seat and started the engines. Then they will learn the difference between humans who want peace and humans who have been pushed too far. The ship lifted off and headed for the jump point. Behind them, the council chamber buzzed with arguments and threats. The aliens could not believe that the young, weak humans had simply walked away. They would understand their mistake soon enough. In the depths of space, Admiral Carter received Morrison's signal and smiled grimly. She had been preparing for this day for 3 years. Every human military commander had been preparing. All ships, she broadcast on the secret channel. Execute Protocol 7. We are no longer bound by Council regulations on weapons, ship design, or military operations. Begin construction of the new fleet designs immediately. Across human space, colonies went dark. Ships vanished from trade routes. Diplomatic posts were abandoned overnight. The galaxy suddenly found itself without the helpful, peaceful humans who had been such reliable partners. The Council would soon discover what humanity looked like when it stopped trying to please everyone else, and they would wish they had been more careful about what they asked for. 3 years passed without a word from humanity. The galaxy tried to pretend this was normal. They told themselves the humans were sulking like angry children. They said the humans would come crawling back when they got hungry or scared. They were wrong. Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of her new ship. The UES Defiance was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was built in secret shipyards hidden in the dark spaces between stars. Every bolt, every wire, every weapon system was designed without Council restrictions. For 20 years, humans had built ships according to Council rules. No weapons too powerful, no shields too strong, no engines too fast. The Council said these rules kept peace in the galaxy. Really, they kept the older races in control. Now humanity built what they wanted to build. Captain Ryan Walsh brought Carter the daily reports. His face was serious as he read from his tablet. "Admiral, our scouts report Vrex fleet movements in the Kepler sector. They are calling it a training exercise, but intelligence suggests they plan to take our colonies there." Carter nodded and looked at the star chart. The Kepler colonies were some of humanity's newest settlements. 50,000 people lived there: farmers, miners, teachers, families with small children. All of them had refused to abandon their homes when the Council demanded it. "What is the status of the evacuation plan?" Carter asked. "Complete," Walsh replied. "Every human civilian in the sector has been relocated to the hidden colonies. The Vrex will find empty buildings and some automated systems, but no people." Dr. Elena Rodriguez joined them at the command table. She was humanity's top expert on alien psychology and warfare. For 3 years, she had studied every Council race, learning their weaknesses and fears. "The Vrex expect to find a few thousand frightened colonists," Rodriguez said. "They plan to make an example of them, show the galaxy what happens to humans who do not obey." Carter smiled coldly. "Instead, they will find a demonstration of what happens to aliens who threaten human civilians." Colonel Frank Davis appeared beside them. His unit was so secret that most humans did not know it existed. They were called the Ghost Division. They fought wars that officially never happened. "Blackout protocol is ready," Davis reported. "Once activated, the Council will lose all ability to monitor human space. Their spy satellites will go blind. Their listening posts will go deaf. They will have no idea what we are doing out here." Carter looked at the tactical display that showed human territory. To the Council, it looked empty. Human trade ships, no longer moved along the known routes. Human colonies no longer answered communication attempts. Human diplomats no longer attended galactic meetings. But the truth was different. Humanity had grown stronger in the darkness. Hidden shipyards built new vessels with technology that would terrify the Council. Secret research stations developed weapons that ignored the laws of physics the Council thought were absolute. Concealed. Colonies housed millions of humans who had vanished from Council sensors. "How many ships are we building?" Carter asked. Walsh checked his secure files. "Current construction includes 400 new warships, 2,000 support vessels, and 50 deep space platforms, all using the new technology." The new technology. That was humanity's secret weapon. While the Council races had spent thousands of years perfecting the same old ideas, humans had been thinking in new ways. Human scientists did not accept that. Something was impossible just because it had never been done before. They had learned to bend space itself. They had created weapons that existed in multiple dimensions at once. They had built ships that could hide in the spaces between atoms. Dr. Rodriguez pulled up her analysis of Council military forces. The Ethereals still rely on energy shields and plasma weapons. The Aquarians use biological warfare and environmental attacks. The Vrex depend on swarm tactics and overwhelming numbers. Carter studied the data. And none of them have adapted their thinking in centuries. Exactly. They fight the same way their ancestors did. They cannot imagine warfare beyond their traditional methods. Colonel Davis added his own intelligence reports. "Our infiltration teams have mapped every major Council military installation. We know their defensive patterns, their communication codes, their supply lines. Most importantly, we know their blind spots." Carter felt a grim satisfaction. For 3 years, the Council had ignored humanity while they squabbled among themselves about trade disputes and territorial boundaries. They had no idea that human, Agents moved freely through their space, learning everything there was to know about Council weaknesses. The communication board chirped with an incoming message. Lieutenant Maya Foster, the ship's communication specialist, looked up with concern. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the Kepler system. The Vrex fleet has arrived and is demanding immediate surrender of all human forces." Carter walked to the main display screen. The Vrex fleet commander appeared, his insect features twisted with arrogance. Behind him, Carter could see the command bridge of a Council warship, all smooth lines and glowing panels. "I am Admiral Carter of the Terran Federation Navy," she said calmly. "State your business in human space." The Vrex clicked its mandibles in what Carter recognized as laughter. "Human space no longer exists. By order of the Galactic Council, all human settlements in this sector are to be disbanded. You will surrender immediately or face the consequences." Carter looked at the tactical display. 30 Vrex ships surrounded the Kepler colonies. It was a respectable force by Council standards. It would have been overwhelming 3 years ago when humanity still followed Council rules about acceptable weapons and ship designs. Now it was barely worth her attention. "Admiral," Walsh whispered, "should we proceed with the demonstration?" Carter nodded. It was time for the galaxy to learn that the quiet years had not made humanity weaker. They had made humanity something the Council could not understand or predict. "Colonel Davis, initiate blackout protocol across all human systems," she ordered. "Dr. Rodriguez, prepare the psychological warfare package for transmission to Council worlds. Captain Walsh, signal the Kepler defense platform to begin the demonstration." Across human space, the blackout protocol activated. Every spy satellite in Council territory suddenly went blind. Every listening post fell silent. Every monitoring station lost its ability to observe human activities. To the Council, it would look like humanity had simply vanished from the galaxy. The truth was that humanity had moved beyond the galaxy's ability to see or understand them. While the Council worried about trade routes and diplomatic protocols, humans had been solving the fundamental problems of warfare, technology, and survival. In the Kepler system, the Vrex fleet commander was about to learn the first lesson in humanity's new curriculum. Carter opened a communication channel to every human settlement, every human ship, every human listening post scattered across the dark spaces between stars. "Citizens of the Federation," she said, "for 3 years we have been building in secret. For 3 years we have been preparing. For 3 years we have let the galaxy believe we were defeated and broken." She paused, looking at the images of human faces on screens throughout the ship. Faces that showed determination, anger, and a cold resolve that would have chilled the Council delegates who thought they had tamed humanity. "Today, we begin to show them the truth. We are not defeated. We are not broken. We are something the galaxy has never seen before. We are humans who no longer care what the galaxy thinks of us." The demonstration in the Kepler system began with a flash of light that could be seen from 3 star systems away. The Vrex fleet that had come to destroy human civilians discovered that humans no longer built defenses according to Council specifications. They discovered that humanity had learned to think beyond the limitations that had been imposed on them, and they discovered that walking away from peace had allowed humanity to become something far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Commander Alex Stone watched the Vrex fleet spread out across the Kepler system like predators hunting prey. 30 warships, each the size of a small city, moved with the confidence of a force that had never known defeat. Their weapons charged. Their shields glowed. Their sensors swept the empty space where human colonies should have been. The Vrex found nothing. Stone's ship, the Silent Runner, floated invisible among the asteroids. Human stealth technology had advanced beyond anything the Council could detect. The ship existed in 11 dimensions, while Council sensors could only see 3. "Sir," Lieutenant Maya Foster reported from her sensor station, The VREX are transmitting surrender demands to empty space. They seem confused about why no one is answering. Stone almost felt sorry for them. Almost. Then he remembered the Council's, ultimatum. The threat to destroy human families. The casual dismissal of human rights. The arrogant assumption that humanity would simply obey. "Open a channel," Stone ordered. The VREX fleet commander appeared on screen. Its compound eyes reflected the light of Kepler's star as it spoke. "Humans, you will surrender immediately. Your resistance is pointless. We have overwhelming force." Stone leaned back in his command chair. "Commander Stone of the Terran Federation Navy, you are in violation of human territorial space. You have 30 seconds to withdraw." The VREX clicked, its mandibles in what Stone recognized as laughter. "You are outnumbered 30-1, human. Your pathetic stealth ship cannot harm our fleet." "One ship?" Stone asked. "Who said anything about one ship?" Around the Kepler system, 12 other human vessels decloaked. They appeared from hyperspace, from asteroid fields, from the spaces between dimensions. Each ship was a miracle of human engineering that violated every law of physics the Council thought they understood. The VREX commander's eyes widened. "Impossible. Our sensors detected nothing." "Your sensors are designed to find ships that obey Council technology restrictions," Stone explained patiently. "We stopped following those restrictions 3 years ago." Stone checked his chronometer. 15 seconds remaining. "Sir," Foster said quietly, "the Kepler defense platform is charging." Stone nodded. The defense platform was humanity's masterpiece, built inside the hollow core of Kepler-7's largest moon. For 2 years, human engineers had worked in absolute secrecy to create a weapon that existed partially outside normal space-time. The VREX had no idea they were sitting next to the most powerful weapon ever constructed. 10 seconds, Stone announced. The VREX commander's voice rose in panic. "You cannot be serious. 30 ships against 13. You will be destroyed." 5 seconds. "This is insane. The Council will hear of this." 0. The moon cracked open. Like an egg. What emerged was not recognizable as a weapon by Council standards. It was a focused distortion of reality itself, a controlled tear in the fabric of space that reached out and touched the VREX fleet with fingers made of twisted physics. The first VREX ship simply stopped existing. One moment, it was there. The next moment, there was empty space where it had been. No explosion, no debris. Just nothing. The second ship tried to raise shields. The energy beam passed through the shields as if they were made of air and erased half the ship's mass from reality. The remaining half drifted helplessly, its crew screaming in languages the translation computers could not process. By the 4th minute, the entire VREX Third Fleet had ceased to exist. Some ships had been deleted from space-time, others had been compressed into objects the size of marbles. A few had been turned inside out in ways that violated geometry. Commander Stone opened a communication channel to record the aftermath for human intelligence services. "Kepler defense test successful," he said calmly. "VREX Third Fleet neutralized with 0 human casualties. Weapon performance exceeded expectations. No survivors to report our capabilities to Council forces." Dr. Sam Turner reviewed the battle, data from his secret laboratory buried in the core of a rogue planet. The weapon had worked perfectly, but its real purpose was not destruction. Its purpose was demonstration. "They will send investigators," Turner told his assistant, Dr. Rachel Kim. "Council science teams will analyze the debris field. They will find energy signatures that should not exist. They will discover that human weapons operate on principles their science says are impossible." Turner smiled as he studied the readings. For 3 years, human scientists had worked without the restrictions that limited Council research. No committees to approve dangerous experiments, no regulations about acceptable risk levels, no rules about what kinds of knowledge were too dangerous to pursue. The results spoke for themselves. Dr. Kim looked worried. "What if they realize what we have become? What if they unite against us?" They cannot unite against something they do not understand, Turner replied. And they cannot understand us because they still think like the same species they were 1,000 years ago. We have become something new. On the other side of human space, President Susan Hayes prepared to address the hidden colonies from her mobile command center. The massive station New Washington had been built in the empty space between galaxies, beyond the reach of any council sensors. Hayes looked at the reports from Kepler with grim satisfaction. The demonstration had been necessary. The council had to understand that humanity was no longer the weak species they remembered. Citizens of the Federation, Hayes said as her words were transmitted to every secret human settlement, today marks the end of our attempts at peaceful coexistence. We offered the council friendship. We offered them partnership. We offered them cooperation. She paused, thinking of the thousands of human families who had been forced to abandon their homes because the council found their existence inconvenient. They responded with ultimatums and threats. They demanded we destroy our ships, abandon our colonies, and accept limits on our population. They treated us like dangerous animals that needed to be caged. Hayes stood and walked to the observation deck where she could see the stars that no longer welcomed humanity. So we have become dangerous. We have become something they cannot control, or predict, or understand. We exist in the shadows now. We watch from the darkness. We build weapons they cannot detect and ships they cannot fight. The transmission reached human outposts scattered across dozens of star systems, hidden colonies that existed in the spaces between normal space, mobile stations that drifted in the empty void between galaxies, research facilities that operated in dimensions the Council did not know existed. From this day forward, we are no longer bound by their rules. We are no longer limited by their technology. We are no longer concerned with their approval. Hayes looked directly into the camera, her eyes hard as stellar iron. The galaxy chose to make us their enemy. They will discover that humanity makes a very dangerous enemy indeed. The message ended with coordinates, rally points where human fleets were gathering for the next phase of their response to galactic rejection. Positions where human forces would mass before beginning operations that would reshape the balance of power forever. In the ruins of the Kepler system, automated beacons broadcast a simple message to any council forces that might arrive to investigate. This is what happens when you threaten human civilians. This is what happens when you underestimate human resolve. This is what happens when you force humanity to stop being civilized. The message repeated endlessly, echoing through empty space where a mighty fleet had existed just hours before. Commander Stone set course for the rally point coordinates. Behind him, the Kepler defense platform powered down and vanished back into the moon's core. To council investigators, it would look like the weapon had destroyed itself after use. They would never guess that humanity had built dozens of similar installations throughout their territory. "Sir," Foster asked quietly, "what do you think the council will do when they find out what happened here?" Stone looked at the stars that had once seemed so welcoming to human explorers. Now they seemed cold and hostile, filled with species that would always see humanity as a threat to be contained. "They will realize they made a terrible mistake," he said. "And by then, it will be too late to fix it." The silent ship disappeared into hyperspace, leaving behind only empty space and the echo of a warning that would soon reach every corner of the galaxy. Humanity was no longer asking for permission to exist. They were taking it. 6 months after the Kepler incident, the galaxy began to understand that something had changed. Trade ships arrived at their destinations with no memory of the journey. Communication networks suffered mysterious failures that left no trace of sabotage. Military convoys vanished for days, only to reappear with their crews reporting strange dreams and missing time. Admiral Ben Cooper watched these reports from his flagship, the invisible dreadnought Nightfall. The massive ship existed, in folded space-time, occupying the same location as normal space, but shifted into dimensions the Council could not perceive. "Status report," Cooper requested. Captain Lisa Green looked up from her intelligence console. Operation Whisper is ahead of schedule, Admiral. We have successfully infiltrated the communication networks of all major council races. Every message, they send passes through human monitoring stations before reaching its destination. Cooper nodded with satisfaction. While the council worried about the missing Vrex fleet, humanity had been busy with more subtle operations. They learned every council secret. They heard every private conversation. They read every classified document. Knowledge was power, and humanity was gathering power while remaining invisible. Lieutenant Colonel Mike Stevens materialized beside the command table without making a sound. His Ghost Division specialized in operations that left no evidence, no witnesses, no proof that humans had ever been present. Report on ethereal surveillance, Cooper said. Stevens activated a holographic display showing the ethereal home system. We have mapped every installation, Admiral. Their energy-based defenses are impressive, but they cannot detect intruders who exist in 11 dimensions while they can only perceive 3. The ethereals were beings of pure energy contained within crystalline shells. They thought their ability to exist as living light made them superior to physical species. They had never encountered opponents who could move through dimensions they could not see or understand. Their leadership is beginning to show signs of paranoia, Stevens continued. 3 high-ranking ethereals have been replaced in the past month. They suspect infiltration but cannot find evidence. Dr. Jennifer Clark joined the briefing with her psychological warfare analysis. For 6 months, she had been orchestrating a campaign designed to turn the council races against each other. The random disappearances and memory gaps are having the desired effect, Clark reported. The Virex are accusing the Aquarians of using biological weapons to alter their crew's memories. The Aquarians claim the ethereals are conducting illegal mind experiments. The ethereals insist the Centauri Union must be harboring human fugitives. Cooper smiled grimly. The genius of humanity's strategy was its restraint. They could have unleashed devastating weapons against council worlds. Instead, they chose to let their enemies destroy themselves through suspicion and fear. Captain Danny White transmitted his report from the Deep Space Monitoring Station Dark Watch. Long-range sensors detect military buildups in 17 council systems. Trust between the major powers is collapsing. 3 trade alliances have been suspended due to accusations of sabotage. The beauty of the Shadow War was that every act of sabotage was subtle enough to be blamed on someone else. When a Vrex communication relay mysteriously failed, the Vrex assumed the ethereals were responsible. When an Aquarian biolab suffered a power failure, they suspected Centauri saboteurs. None of them suspected the truth. Humanity was everywhere and nowhere, watching from the spaces between atoms, listening from the gaps in their security networks. Commander Nicole Davis reviewed the latest intelligence from Council Space. The paranoia is spreading beyond the major powers. 17 minor races have withdrawn from trade agreements. The Galactic Commerce Authority reports a 40% drop in intersystem trade. Cooper studied the tactical displays showing Council territory. Red zones marked areas of military tension. Yellow zones showed economic disruption. Green zones indicated stable regions. There were very few green zones left. Phase 2 recommendations? Cooper asked. Stevens activated another holographic display. We begin active interference with their military operations. Nothing dramatic enough to start open warfare, but sufficient to increase their mutual suspicions. Clark nodded agreement. I recommend we start feeding false intelligence to their spy networks. Let the Vrex think the ethereals are planning an attack. Let the ethereals believe the Aquarians are developing new biological weapons. Cooper considered the proposals. For 6 months, humanity had operated in the shadows, gathering intelligence and sowing discord. Now it was time to escalate. The pressure. Approved. Begin Phase 2 operations immediately. Across Council space, the Shadow War entered a new stage of subtlety and deception. On the Vrex homeworld, military commanders received intelligence reports suggesting the ethereals were massing fleet elements near disputed territories. The reports were fabricated by human intelligence operatives who had penetrated every level of Vrex security. In ethereal space, energy beings discovered evidence of Aquarian bioweapons research that violated interstellar treaties. The evidence was carefully planted by Ghost Division teams who moved through ethereal installations like whispers in the dark. Among the Aquarians, diplomatic communications revealed Centauri plans for territorial expansion into traditional Aquarian breeding grounds. The communications were genuine Centauri documents, but they had been edited by human agents to emphasize the most threatening interpretations. Dr. Clark monitored the results from her Psychological Operations Center. Vrex Third Fleet is moving to intercept suspected ethereal forces. The ethereals are withdrawing their diplomatic staff from Aquarian worlds. The Aquarians have activated their biological defense protocols. Cooper watched the tactical display as military forces moved across council space like pieces on a chessboard. None of the players realized they were responding to moves made by an opponent they could not see. Casualties? Cooper asked. Minimal, Stevens reported. 17 minor incidents involving patrol vessels. No major engagements yet. They are still following Council warfare protocols. Those protocols were designed to prevent major conflicts between Council races. Formal declarations of intent, limited engagements, diplomatic cooling-off periods. The rules had maintained galactic peace for centuries. They would also make it easier for humanity to manipulate Council military responses. Captain White's voice came through the communication system. Admiral, we are detecting increased communication, traffic between Council intelligence services. They are starting to coordinate their investigations. Cooper nodded. This was expected. Eventually, the Council races would begin to suspect that their mutual antagonisms were being orchestrated by an outside force. By then, it would be too late. Dr. Clark, prepare the final phase psychological package, Cooper ordered. Stevens, position your teams for extraction operations. Green, ready the disinformation networks for maximum distribution. The final phase of the Shadow War would be the most dangerous. It would require humanity to reveal just enough of their capabilities, to convince the Council that they faced an enemy beyond their understanding. Green looked up from her console with concern. Admiral, if we proceed with final phase operations, there will be no going back. The Council will know we are responsible for everything that has happened. Cooper looked at the display showing human territory. Empty space on Council charts, but filled with hidden colonies, secret shipyards, and weapons that violated every law of physics the galaxy understood. For 3 years, humanity had grown stronger in the darkness. They had built fleets the Council could not detect. They had developed technology the Council could not comprehend. They had become something the galaxy had never seen before. Captain Green, Cooper said quietly. There was no going back. The moment they demanded we abandon our colonies and destroy our ships. There was no going back when they treated us like children who needed to be controlled. He paused, thinking of the millions of humans who had been forced into exile simply because. Their existence made older races uncomfortable. They wanted to see what humanity looked like when we stopped trying to be civilized. Phase 3 will give them exactly what they asked for. The Shadow War was about to become something much more direct and terrifying, and the Council would finally understand the difference between humans who wanted peace and humans who had been pushed beyond all patience. 2 years of shadow warfare had brought the Galactic Council to the edge of collapse. The emergency session on Centauri Prime was meant to address what the ethereals called the human question, though none of the delegates could agree on what that question actually was. Fleet Admiral Kevin Parker observed the proceedings from his command ship positioned in the system's outer asteroid belt. The massive vessel Retribution represented the peak of human engineering, a warship that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously and carried weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics in localized areas. They are finally ready to admit they made a mistake. Commander Nicole Davis reported from her tactical station. Intelligence indicates they plan to offer humanity a formal apology and restoration of all previous treaties. Parker studied the readings from the council chamber. Fear radiated from the assembled delegates like heat from a star. 2 years of mysterious incidents, unexplained failures, and growing paranoia had broken their confidence completely. "Too little, too late," Parker said. "Begin final deployment." Across human space, the Shadow Fleet received its orders. Ships that had been constructed in absolute secrecy began to decloak from their hiding places in dark matter clouds, hyperspace, anomalies, and the folded spaces between dimensions. The UES Vengeance emerged from inside a black hole's event horizon, its hull protected by technology that made gravity optional. The UES Nightmare phased through the solid matter of an asteroid field. Its molecular structure shifted into dimensions the Council could not perceive. Hundreds of vessels that existed beyond the galaxy's understanding of possible technology converged on major Council worlds. On Centauri Prime, the Vrex ambassador's compound eyes reflected terror as his sensors finally detected the human fleet surrounding their world. "Impossible!" he clicked frantically. "Our deep space scanners showed nothing." "Your scanners detect objects in 3 dimensions. Parker's voice echoed through the council chamber. "We exist in 11 dimensions. You see only shadows of what we have become." The holographic projection of Parker materialized before the assembled delegates. He wore the uniform of the Terran Federation Navy, but the insignia and decorations were unfamiliar to Council databases. Humanity had changed more than their technology. The ethereal representative pulsed with frantic energy patterns. "What do you want? Surely we can reach some form of agreement." Parker looked at each delegate with the cold assessment of a predator evaluating prey. "You had your chance for agreements. 5 years ago, you could have treated us as equals. 3 years ago, you could have negotiated fairly. Even 1 year ago, you could have approached us with respect." He paused, letting the weight of their missed opportunities settle in the chamber. "Instead, you chose ultimatums. You chose threats. You chose to treat us like dangerous animals that needed to be caged." Dr. Carol Martinez appeared beside Parker's projection. Her voice was calm and professional, which somehow made her words more terrifying than any threat. "For 3 years, you have wondered what humanity was doing in the darkness," Martinez said. "Today you learn. We were not hiding from your superior forces. We were not cowering in fear of your mighty fleets. We were evolving beyond every limitation you tried to place on us." The demonstration began with a simple request. A single human ship approached the most heavily defended Vrex military installation in the system. The base activated every weapon, every shield, every defensive system available to Council military technology. The human ship ignored them all. It passed through solid matter like it was not there. It moved through energy barriers as if they were empty space. It landed gently in the base's central courtyard, while alarms screamed and defensive systems fired uselessly at a target they could not touch. From the ship emerged Captain Anna Foster, who walked casually to the base commander's office. The Vrex soldiers tried to stop her, but their weapons passed harmlessly through her body. She existed in dimensions their sensors could not detect, and their weapons could not reach. The message she delivered was simple. Your defenses are irrelevant. Similar demonstrations occurred simultaneously across the galaxy. Human agents materialized inside the most secure Council facilities. Human ships appeared in the heart of heavily defended systems. Human voices spoke from communication arrays that were supposed to be impregnable. The Council delegates watched in growing horror as their absolute military superiority was revealed to be an illusion. President Susan Hayes delivered the final judgment to the assembled powers. Her image appeared on every screen, every communication device, every display system in Council space. "You declared us too aggressive for civilized society," Hayes said. "You were correct. We are aggressive. We are relentless. We are uncompromising. We are everything you feared we might become." She paused, her eyes hard as stellar iron. "But we are also what you made us. You could have had us as allies. You could have had us as partners. You could have had us as friends. Instead, you chose to have us as something else entirely." The ultimatum was delivered with scientific precision: complete restructuring of galactic governance under human oversight, dissolution of all existing military alliances, acceptance of human monitoring of all interstellar activities. The alternative was simple: face the full consequences of their decision to cast humanity into the darkness. Parker reappeared before the council delegates, his expression showing no emotion whatsoever. "You have 1 hour to reach a decision. After that, we will make the decision for you." The Aquarian representative, a creature of liquid intelligence contained in a mobility suit, pulsed with desperate colors. "You cannot be serious. You would destroy galactic civilization itself." "Civilization?" Parker asked. "You mean the system where older races maintain control by suppressing younger ones? Where species are judged by their age rather than their achievements? Where cooperation is enforced through threats and ultimatums?" He looked around the chamber at beings who had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. "That is not civilization. That is tyranny with better public relations." Martinez stepped forward with data tablets containing humanity's detailed analysis of galactic society. "Your system has prevented scientific advancement for millennia. You have suppressed technological development to maintain stability. You have limited exploration to preserve existing power structures." She distributed the tablets to the stunned delegates. "Under your leadership, the galaxy has stagnated. Under ours, it will advance." The hour passed in frantic discussions, desperate negotiations, and increasingly wild proposals from delegates who could not accept that their ancient supremacy was ending. When the time expired, Parker delivered humanity's final statement. "Your decision has been noted and rejected. As of this moment, the Terran Federation assumes responsibility for galactic governance. All existing military forces will stand down. All territorial claims will be reviewed. All technology development will proceed under human oversight." The transformation was swift and surprisingly bloodless. Council fleets found their weapon systems disabled by technology they could not understand. Military installations discovered their defensive systems would no longer respond to commands. Communication networks carried only messages approved by human monitors. Within days, the galaxy operated under new management. The former council members found themselves in advisory positions, their expertise valued, but their authority transferred to species they had once dismissed as too young and aggressive for real responsibility. Dr. Martinez established the new Department of Galactic Development from a station that existed in 7 dimensions simultaneously. Her first report was encouraging. Scientific advancement has increased 400% in the first month. 17 breakthrough discoveries have been made in fields the Council had declared impossible to research. Economic productivity is up 60% as trade restrictions are eliminated. Parker reviewed the reports from his flagship, now openly orbiting Centauri Prime as a symbol of the new order. The galaxy was learning to operate under human guidance with surprising efficiency. "Any resistance movements?" he asked. "Minor protests?" "On 12 worlds," Davis reported. "Nothing organized. Most populations seem relieved to have competent leadership after centuries of council stagnation. The new galactic order established itself through a combination of demonstrated superiority and practical benefits. Species that had been suppressed under council rule found themselves free to develop their potential. Worlds that had been restricted, in their growth, discovered new opportunities for advancement, and throughout it all, human ships maintained their eternal patrol through the darkness between stars, ensuring that the lessons of this transformation were never forgotten. The galaxy had learned what happened when humanity was forced to choose between peace and survival. They had transcended that choice entirely, becoming the guardians of a new kind of order built not on fear or tradition, but on the absolute certainty that some species were born to lead while others were meant to follow. The moment humanity walked away from peace, they had become something the galaxy could neither understand nor resist. They had become its future.